Hey, Box of Paint, hi. Hope it's been a good week. Yeah, it's been okay. I hope yours has been good too. How's your weekend so far? Hubby was very busy this week, but got a chance to watch a new show and think if work had called during he wouldn't have answered. It was really good. What was it? Buddies. Was this sci-fi murder mystery? Ooh. It's a movie or it's a series? We watched the One Piece live action series. It was surprisingly good. It was limited series. Ooh, without spoilers, the same dead body appears over. Oh yeah, I saw the synopsis of that. Ooh, sounds interesting. Really enjoyed One Piece. It was a lot of fun indeed. It was good, wasn't it? Like, oh wow, someone with a vision. I loved all the practical effects, all the costumes, and the fact that a lot of the main characters did their own stunts. It's really impressive. Also, everyone is so ridiculously fit in there. Always cracks me up. Because, you know, when it's a drawn manga, you know, you're like, oh, it's exaggerated, it's cartoony and whatnot. But when they translate it into live action, you never really know what to expect. Otto, hi! Hello, hello! Oh, I like the gray the flower one. I can't tell if it's like very muted green or gray. Like it's really pretty, but it's really hard to say. Yeah, but I'm not sure. I think it's probably very slightly green gray, but yeah, hard to say. Because like this, if I take like, this is more green. Oh well. I totally believe you. It's a weird color. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of this optical illusion test thing that you put the same kind of gray square in the middle of a green area or in the middle of a red area and the gray looks different. Even if it's the same gray, that's what it reminds me of. So what kind of crafts have you guys done this week, if any? I've been mostly sewing these cats. Also learning a lot about doing quilts in the process. And I started watching videos about how to cut your fabric for quilts. And I'm learning a lot. And there's a lot I didn't do when I cut this one up. So I think this one is going to be like the extra wonky first quilt. Grass stitch. Oh yeah, how further along are you? You're doing some mileage. I learned mostly about how to line up the fabric. Which is, if I might have rambled about that before, but when it comes to sewing, that's my least favorite aspect of sewing, is that fabric has a kind of a sense, a direction. And it bothers me because it often accounts for a lot of waste. Probably less so with quilting, because you can always use up the scraps for English paper piecing or patchwork or whatnot, but for clothing it would always drive me bonkers that you would have to buy like such a long length of fabric for certain patterns because of the way the fabric was, you know, made, and you had to line up stuff. All first quilts are wonky. Yeah, this one will definitely be a first quilt. But I mean, it's fine. It's fine. I knew it. That's why I picked up like a pre-made bundle of fabrics. You know, like none of these fabric are technically precious, and I picked up a pattern that I thought was fun but not very complicated. And I'm learning stuff. That's how I learn. I do it wrong, and then I learn. It's a very big design, so it's going to take a while. Yeah, but still, you're like progressing. I've been battling the empty tank from Inktober. Oh no! But got a couple of new palettes for... Hold on. Sorry. There you go. Yeah, I don't really know how to use it yet, but I mean, there you go. Who's the third person watching? Probably me, because I have the stream open on a separate tab. so that I can see chat. Hi! I was wondering, do you use a special fabric pencil when you draw on fabric, or if you just use a soft lead graphite pencil? I also saw some people who say that they like to iron out fabric before cutting it, and I can see like how it could be useful, but at the same time I'm like, who has time for that? Hey Charlotte, hi! Nope, just friction pen or graphite pencil. There is a third viewer. Does it say 4 now? I'm super sleepy. I've been super sleepy all week. When do you switch time? Hey, Nut Gino, hi. Hello, hello. Welcome. I think we are changing, we are going back to whatever daylight savings time thingamajig this weekend. Our clock changed last Sunday. Yeah, it's always so difficult to adapt to changing the clock. I don't really like it. Not a big fan. I did my first live. Oh, how did it go? I hope it went well. Our cats are super pissed off about the time change. Oh no! There's one of the time changes that's easier on everyone because the cats get fed earlier, but when it's the other way around, it's always difficult on everyone. Yeah, exactly. The cats, they don't understand such abstract concepts as time and the following notions of it's not time yet. They're like, well, I want to eat, feed me. And you're like, well, if I do that, you're gonna end up being like a very unhappy round cat. So I've sewn together 2 columns of cats for this quilt. So I have 12 cats done out of the 30 I need to put together. And my thought was that I was gonna put the columns together first, because the way the pattern is set, even if it doesn't line up properly in the rows, it's not so bad, whereas if it doesn't line up properly in the columns, it's gonna feel weird. Give me a sec, I will. I'll just finish this little seam. I had absolutely no luck locating the pinning pins. Like I went through all my boxes of sewing stuff and like looked into every container, into everything, and I was only able to find, you know, my old cheap pins, and one set of them are so badly made that I don't think they're usable for anything sewing. Like the tips are so rough, they're gonna tear through fabric. And the other ones I have are these, and they're kind of big, I feel like. Let's grab the... So I did one fuck up. Is that you're supposed to be alternating cats, you know, like they will be facing each other, like column this way, column that way, and then another, and then, you know, like... And I started the column of the cats that's supposed to be facing the first one, but I didn't do one thing properly, and I cut off the fabric, and there was no real way to salvage it to make it fit in the right way, so I took the whole column and I switched it out with another column. It's kind of hard to explain, but it makes sense. Alright, so that's... yeah, that's the switched out column. Sorry. It's gonna be a bit hard to see, but... yeah, I'm sure it's gonna be fine. The only thing that could possibly happen is that things don't... like, perhaps one color is gonna be like next to a similar, like the same fabric, but that's why I'm gonna sew all the columns together at the end so that I can move some around. And yeah, you can see there's a, a couple of mistakes. Like this should, you know, be all the way up here like this ear is, but I kind of feel like quilts with a couple of mistakes in them are kind of, you know, appealing just as much. Hey, Mikey! This was the colorway that I thought was gonna look like butt. But I think it's okay. I think it turned out okay. And I made a point, like I was very careful with the fabrics that have kind of a sense, like this one has text on it, so it would have been weird to have a part that's upside down and the text isn't. So I tried my best to make that fit. But yeah, and this sort of gingham pattern is trippy a bit, but... so that's the first... well, actually, that's the second one I did. This is the first one I did. I'll put this one away. Just dump. And then this is the other one. You saw me sew a couple of these in the last stream. So yeah, I kind of like how the, you know, the cats, they kind of start in one block and finish in the next block. And I think that works well. I don't know how I managed to systematically... oh, that's because that's not sewn in yet. Okay, it's gonna be the same on the other side. Alright. Figured it out. So yeah, that's a bunch of cats. More cats. And cats. A whole quilt of cats. Sorry. It's surprisingly, like there's not a lot to sew. It's quite simple really, because you don't have that many pieces to put together. And sewing, like piecing it by hand with a running stitch is really not time consuming. I keep an extra big seam allowance on these cuts because I can, and might be handy for if I make mistakes or whatnot. For all the other seams, I try to follow the seam allowance that's in the pattern, and then I roll out the seams. That's the butt, that's the ears. I like the frondy pattern. Yeah, it's very pretty. It's going to be really funny / interesting to see all the, you know, everything together in the end, like all the columns sewn together. And I know it's going to be super wonky. I'm perfectly fine with it. Like, I know why it's wonky. That's the main key factor, but yeah, I'm not gonna stop on this because I know that it's gonna be wonky. I still have to finish it. Oh, that's the face. Like, I think this fabric would have been a whole lot prettier if they didn't put, like, State's name on it. Like, it's fine, but that makes it so much less versatile than if it didn't have the text on it. It's not like the text is really relevant to anything. So yeah, nothing squares up, and I now know why, because I've started like looking into this, but kind of cracks me up. It's like I decided to make the puzzle difficulty higher on my own. Let's make this extra hard by making it extra wonky. I see a lot of people who make quilt that have a kind of a corner of their quilt where they will like kind of have their signature of sort. You know how you sign up a drawing when you finish it? Well, a lot of people finish quilts and they will have kind of a corner somewhere that will say made by so-and-so, or like some kind words for like a family or a baby and the year. And I think that's interesting. It's a good way to keep track. It's a bit like dating a sketchbook, so that when you go back to it, if you don't really remember when it was made, you can always check out the signature. Yeah, I'm eager to see it together too. I think that for the backing fabric, I'll use up some fat quarters I have from the same fabric company. I think I have a few that would fit with the colors, and maybe patchwork whatever is left of these fabrics too, and then have it so that I don't really need to make binding. I'm just gonna make the backing fabric extend a bit further on the sides and fold that in as binding. I've already pulled the next bundles I want to try with the next patterns I want to try. It's all lined up in my head. The two I have of my great grannies are signed on the inside with Sharpie, which makes using them why stressful though? Sharpie is pretty indestructible unless you put alcohol on it, isn't it? Boop. This thing I really like. It's meant so that it's meant for English paper piecing, so that you can have your your needle here and your glue pen here, but I really like this spool thing because my thread bobbins kept rolling everywhere, and I tried to MacGyver some sort of makeshift contraption to do this, but in the end it like this works out so well. And the magnet, even if I don't put my sewing needle on it, I can put, like, it's magnetic, so my just this will, you know, stay on it a bit. I can put my stuff on the base. I don't want to rub off her handwriting. Oh, ooh. How could you preserve it? Is there a way you could, like, cover it up somehow? Because it kind of sucks not to be able to use them too. This thread is too chunky to thread by hand. Well, it's not the fact that it's chunky, it's the fact that it will fray really easily. So if I don't get it in the needle straight away. You can finally embroider the writing following your handwriting. It was my great aunt's wedding present and made from her school clothes growing up. It's so much. Oh wow! I hope you took a lot of pictures of it, like just for safekeeping. Did they have Sharpies in the 30s? They probably had markers made from like kerosene and all kinds of toxic stuff. That's what I did for a blanket of mine I made 10 years ago. When I did some restoration work, I embroidered. I remember that. I think it was easier perhaps because it was your handwriting, so even if you embroider it a bit like off the writing, it's still your writing, your embroidery, so it's the same spirit. But I could understand being nervous about embroidering someone else's handwriting. Have I ever told you guys that my grandmother was a seamstress for Lucille Ball? I remember you mentioning Lucille Ball. Perhaps that was in this context. She was an excellent, excellent seamstress. It was still a very valued skill back then. I was watching a video about also the original topic of the video is kind of not what I want to talk about, but it also talked about Shein and fast fashion, and oof. Always makes me sad to see how much of a like, it's not completely gone as a skill, but it's definitely a lot less common than it once was. Nowadays, a lot of people couldn't fix their own clothes if they had to. And even like me, I'm interested in sewing and I'm not sure I could do it, so. Or rather, I'm pretty sure I could do it. Would it be pretty? Probably not. But yeah, like basic stuff like darning socks or repairing holes or fixing hems. Chiro! Chiro is here. Salut petite Chiro. Oh, she's so cute. She's such a cute kitty. She's going meow meow meow. She didn't do quilts though, but all of my window treatments, going up for the covers. Oh, you mean like the curtains? I would like to make trousers, white legged pants, but it's so expensive to make clothing. Oh, I think it's expensive everywhere, to be honest. Because fabric is not cheap. And if you want to source your fabric, like to get good quality fabric, also, I think a lot of the general quality of fabric has gone down a lot since we no longer like make clothes with the same intentions in mind. It used to be that clothing was made to last, and you would like fix it, repair it, like, you know, like a lot of fibers. Linen was used a lot, and linen is a particularly strong fiber, so it could withstand a lot of scrubbing. And there was a bunch of ways to fix clothing. Like if a piece of clothing was stained to an extent that you could no longer wash it off the clothing, they would re-dye it to cover up the stains. Like there was a lot of methods to make the best of clothing, and the current situation is absolutely not like that. So in consequence of that, a lot of the quality of fabric has gone down. I think it used to be that fabrics were a lot stronger and a lot finer. Like you could get some really strong fabrics and have them be like really thin. Nowadays, most thin fabrics are not very sturdy. I've been watching a lot of dress historian videos. There's a really popular new fabric that my brains translate as scuba gear light, and it makes me what? They're making fabrics with bamboo and all kinds of stuff now, but I mean, biodegradable fabric is great, so all kinds of natural fibers are great, but the fact that nothing lasts is still very unnerving. I know which one you mean, Buffet. I would not buy it. It's really thick material and does not feel nice against your skin. Popular new fabric. Is it a synthetic fabric, or is it a sort of plant-based or animal fiber-based fabric? If you've ever been on Temu, the likes shirts are made from it. When hubby ordered us some shirts, Pride. So it's gotta be synthetic fabric. I'm trying to think of it. one of the recent fabric sort of trends that bothers me personally is when they integrate recycled polyester into fabric blends, because it makes the whole fabric not biodegradable anymore. Say what you will about like 100% cotton, whatever. At least when it's reached the end of its life, if you cut it up and put it in the bin, it's gonna degrade. It's gonna like disintegrate. But fabric blended in with polyester, polyester is a plastic. It's not gonna do anything. So yeah, you're kind of reusing bottles for one garment, but it's not exactly fixing the issue as much as just postponing the consequences, you know. And I see it from a lot of like eco-friendly brands like Tentrine and all that, and it just bothers me. It's almost always printed heavily on the outside. Yet I know what you mean, and it feels somewhat soft, but it's not. Ugh. Ugh. It's like plastic wool. Blech. That sounds absolutely awful. Plastic wool. I mean, acrylic is plastic wool, isn't it? Acrylic, polyester. I don't think they make a lot of yarn out of straight up nylon. It's often mixed in to make socks or whatnot. I went to a thrift store of sorts not too long ago, and I was like perusing the stuff, and it's so depressing nowadays because a lot of it is, you know, cheap, fast fashion. And like thrifting used to be fun because you would find garments that, you know, had seen some use but were still good, and you could like bring them home and, you know, they would keep on giving. But nowadays you see so much cheap clothing that has been worn a bit, but that has actually no value whatsoever in terms of comfort or, you know, fiber. It's just not fun. I miss the good old days of thrifting. Polyester could be a girl's name. You know, polyester. That's true. It feels like a, you know, the kind of a name they would give to a designer drug or something. You know how one is named Molly or whatnot. The fabric you describe, box of paint, reminds me of how they make Halloween costumes nowadays. You know how they will, like the superhero costumes are basically a kind of a full bodysuit that has a big print over it. That's what it reminds me of. Polyester superpower ruiner of iron. Oh no. Oh no, that sounds like a true story. That's the other thing which reminds me of the drugstore costumes from the 80s. But I mean, it's even worse now. Everything is like this super flimsy, flammable material. But no smell. No smell? Well, you got lucky. I noticed that most people in the quilting community out there uses the same brand of iron. And I'm like, what's the reasoning behind it? Is there an actual like feature of these irons that makes it so everybody uses them, or is it just like a trend? But they also have those like mini irons that are really cute. It's for traveling. I don't know how often one needs to travel with all their quilting stuff, but the fact that you can get an iron and it's about this big is still kind of funny. I'm sure it was deadly somehow, but there is a super nostalgic plastic smell that is a rare occurrence nowadays. Opening a new toy, a record, Halloween costume. The one that gets to me the most is the one you would get from inflatable pool items that are left in the sun. That was a particular vinyl smell that, whew. They were strong, but like gasoline in the winter. I kind of like the smell of gasoline. The Unibucks, it's like that stuff we used to blow into balloons. I forget what it's called now, but you used to put a little ball of it at the end of a straw and blow a balloon. Oui! Fais-tu bout qu'elle est là? Tu l'avais pas vu?
Non.
Tantôt j'ai fait, ah, c'est chaud!
Ici, il y a
une
brown ooze.
Brown ooze. It's like liquid latex. You made a little ball with it and blew air through to make bubbles. Smelled like modeling glue rubbers. Ooh. You can't inhale it. That's cannot have been a good idea. Came in a tube like paint. We would do a thing with PVA glue, you know, the white glue you get in school. Like if we were in the arts and craft class, and it was the end of the class, and you had to like store away everything, and there was still the white glue. A lot of people would put it on their hands and let it dry, and then peel it off. Does not have a puffing problem. Steaming in the 80s. Yep. Elmer's glue and kettle. The wax was warm. Well, hot even. At least the glue was not a burn risk. I love that they try to make everything safe for kids and whatnot, but they kind of forget that kids, they don't need a lot to like do stuff that would perhaps be accounted as dangerous. You know. Safe. Thought hubby was making us popcorn for a second, then realized it's fireworks. Oh no! Do you still have everything to make popcorn happen? Because, I mean, it can still happen. Hey, Lena, hi! Hello! I have a jar of popcorn, but I'm not 100% on how old it is. I saw a guy pop, like, 100 years old popcorn, and it took a bit longer, but it still popped and was still edible, so I think you're safe. If it doesn't smell weird, you should be okay. I'm doing more of the cat blocks for the cat quilt. What a surprise, I know, right? Woo! Who would have thought? Not late per se. Well, yeah, it's at the time change kerfuffle thing. Next week is gonna be me who will have change time, and probably it's gonna be all off again. My dad used to burn all of our garbage up at the camp. By the way, nothing like burning burning styrofoam. Ugh. Yeah, that's stinky. It's that week when live streams happen at weird times. Yep. Will you go back 1 hour in time next? I think so. I think we're supposed to change this weekend. I'll try to remember to mention it when I set up the stream. But yeah, it's always the big messy part of the... It happens twice a year. And the fact that nobody changes at the same time, whatever, is always extra messy. Chéro, qu'est-ce que tu fais? What are you doing? I don't know if a lot of people in chat travel, but if you travel, how do you manage bringing artsy or crafty items along, like stuff to be able to keep on creating while you're away? Do you bring things? Do you bring nothing and really spend that time doing all things that are not crafty? How do you cope with it? I get in trouble because I try to bring all the supplies. bring things. How do you decide what to bring? Extra luggage just for the crafty supplies. But 99% of the time I just need a sketchbook, pencil, and maybe a small palette. But I mostly don't paint in strange places, yeah. Yeah, I kind of have a similar issue in that I always end up bringing way more stuff than I actually need. Knitting is nice to bring with you, but it kind of takes up a lot of space too, doesn't it? Especially if you want to bring enough yarn to keep you going. long do you instead? Oh, I'm not going anywhere. I'm just curious. Just what I need for whatever is my current project. Oh, interesting. Okay. And if you expect to finish said project, do you like wait until you're back to start a new one, or do you venture out locally to find stuff? Or yeah, how do you deal with that? Still not comfortable with like a Pentel brush pen, but can totally get away with the one with the uni brush pen. They have a kind of a felt tip, right? These are fun. I usually just bring sketchbook and black pens. I'd take something else instead of a nail. Okay, cool, interesting. It always feels like this thing where you're like, well, I'm not gonna bring all this stuff because I'm not gonna use it anyway. But then if you're actually able to convince yourself not to bring all of the stuff, you're gonna be there and be like, oh, I wish I had this and that. Like bringing a book to read and actually never opening it. Because like socks, one socks needs 10 hours. I bring only like one extra skein. Oh yeah, socks, okay, that's fine. I've said before, I know that I really require being at home to do much art, but the obsession with the perfect travel every... Yeah, oh my gosh, tell me about it. It's like putting up travel kits and then never going anywhere. Well, putting together a travel kit, I should say. Pretty much an overpacker in general, oh my gosh. But that's stressful too. Like, you always worry about forgetting stuff. For reading, I have the Kindle app on the phone tablet. It's like when I go to the hospital, I only bring my phone, not even a little purse or anything, because you know things could get... Yeah. I was the kid in school that looked like they were going hiking because I needed all my books and everything else, just in case. Or artist sketchbook and one tiny palette. I know what you mean, box of paint. It's very much the MacGyver mindset in my head. Like, you kind of need all the stuff because what if you need it and you don't have it? So I kind of had the hiker look going on for college because of all the supplies that I have to fit in there. I kind of bought a bag that was high enough so that I could fit an 18 inches metal ruler in there. That was the mood. But I just bought the tiniest watercolor palette for traveling, made from a business card holder, 3D printed inserts, and containing a size 4 brush. Ooh, size 4 brush, that's tiny. I mean, it's good for details, and if you draw small, that's fine, but I've always wondered why the, you know, the Winsor & Newton pocket palette, why does it have a size 2 brush? How is that any useful? It's not. Part of my Sanrio obsession as a kid was I could get one item that did 10 different things and I still haven't... Oh yeah, seriously. Or to have a case where everything has a place for it in it. That was like all the travel sets, as far as I can... No, not all of them. I think the Schminke ones come with perhaps a size 6. Is it a travel Da Vinci brush? Anyway. But yeah, I mean, why the tiniest brushes and travel kits? Like, I'm not gonna necessarily draw stuff that's like super tiny, so just why not have a sort of average middle-sized brush in there, like size 6 or size 8 with a decent point. It's really easy to get a brush like that with synthetic brushes, so you don't really have an excuse. The fancy set I got is a Sennelier wooden box, and it came with a smaller mop and size 2 travel brush, and they are perfect. Yeah, the mop will do the trick for everything that's larger, and the size 2 is good for details. The mop is big enough to cover some good areas, and yeah, the 2 has nice sharp point for details. Exactly. Do you remember what brand are the brushes, Box of Paint? They are Raphael brushes. Yes, 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 I remember now. Yes, these are good. Raphael makes really nice travel brushes in all sorts of sizes that are actually useful. I know I have a stack of them somewhere. Oh yeah, in probably in the box that I labeled the travel brushes or something. It's either that one or the box where I have all the short brushes. I have a set of Raphael brushes that are short-handled, and I thought I'd hate them, and at the moment they're my go-tos. Yeah, the issue with short handles is that if you have larger hands, sorry, they can be really hard to maneuver and can give you hand cramps. But I don't have very big hands, so not an issue for me. Hold on. Did you get around to watching the fall of the House of Usher? A box of paint. Plop. Ta-dum! And that's one more cat square, cat block done. Ow! Here they are. all the tiny brushes. Oh, a lot of people didn't like it, but we both really enjoyed the series here, so... The style in which I hold my pencil has been called the death grip. And I try not to do it with brushes, but it's not always easy. So yeah, the soft aqua, that's the name of these. So these are all travel brushes from Raphael, and they're really fun because they're quite short. I have a bunch of them. But you get all sorts of sizes, not just really tiny sizes. This is a size 3 in these brushes, but it's not a size 3 tip. Like this is a 5 from Cutman, and you can see that it's really not the same. And they have flats, they have angled, they have all sorts of fun like shapes. I was looking for these the other day, so thanks for the reminder. Here I have a bunch of bits and bobs of all kinds of small brushes. I think I have another soft aqua down here. And yeah. Sorry. Hey, Erica! Hello! Hi! We interjected buddies in the space that should have been the fall, so I will be starting it tonight when he goes to bed. I hope you like it. The firm up on your left is why I bought the set of short handle. I got a Sinelli student set that came with that brush and I needed to replace it. My favorite mop ever. This tiny one. It's so nice. It's so soft. You can get these with a regular handle too, so... Let's grab the next block. Oh, I need to tape. There you go. Super soft but not mushy. Yeah, it's synthetic scroll, so you get the good absorption but not the mushiness. But that's what is the fabric? I kind of had to. Like I don't exactly know what I'm doing in the sense that this is the very first quilt I've ever made. So after cutting all the fabric, I wanted to make sure that I had all the pieces I needed, so I separated everything by block. And then I was like, how can I store this somewhat efficiently? And I saw that we had an empty portfolio thingy. So I put one block per side of the sheets in there, and yeah, it works. Perhaps if I ever reach a point where I'm more comfortable with what I'm doing, I won't need to organize it to that extent, but I need more tea. Sorry for all the drinking noises. I don't know, but it looks like a reasonable solution to organize them somehow, so you don't mix them up or miss pieces. Yeah, that was my worry. Like, how am I supposed to remember what piece is what and how they go together? So I took the time to like fully like words. But I looked at the finished quilt and I looked at the pattern and I set up a chart and I used that to separate everything into blocks. Like, I really like this pattern. I will probably do other cat quilts in the future because it's kind of very on brand, and also I really like the pattern, how it looks, but there's definitely ways to have fun with it. Like, instead of having a really coordinated quilt, you can probably do it a bit more scrappy. And basically all you need to do is make sure you have the pieces of one block, like all the pieces for one block, and then you can switch it out. Honestly, stay organized. It's the best approach for quilting. I currently have all my 100 blocks in individual paper folders, just pieces of paper folded, because it's the only way. Stay organized. That's a good hashtag. I like how you're organized. Oh, thank you so much. I'm glad. I'm glad if people who know what they're doing a bit more can see, can understand why I did it. It means that I'm on the I'm on the right track. But I will also say that Ev's organization of this quilt is amazing. Thank you. Thank you for the support. I really appreciate it. I'm having fun. Like, I have more projects in my brain than the speed at which I can get them done. So I'm considering getting a small machine somewhat, but still a consideration and not an actual plan. Like, I thought myself that I would try piecing a quilt by hand, but a quilt that has less wonky pieces, like where everything squares up more nicely. Then I'll be able to sort of assess. It's the best way for everything. I can say how often I am annoyed with myself and I misplace stuff. Oh, seriously. There's one thing that I don't really have room for, but that I feel will always be on standby for when I possibly have the room for eventually, is to have a lot of project bins. Like, just either just an open container or whatnot, but that at least you can put everything all in the same bag or box, like a project bag. Like, all my quilting stuff for this quilt is in a bag next to me, so when I'm done, I just start everything, dump it in there, and at least I keep everything together. And if I can't find a thing, then it's really weird. Like, it means that I must have taken it out and misplaced it almost on purpose. I see a lot of people use project bags for knitting too, and it makes a lot of sense. Just make sure you have someone who will distribute your quilts for you, because once you start, that's the bigger problem. Started making more detailed project notes. Yeah, that's the one thing that I am not For now, everything lives in my brain, but I've seen it with paintings and whatnot, how it can be useful to take notes. Like on some paintings, on some sketchbooks, I try to label, like, I use these paints and I inked with this pen and I did this or that, or, you know, just so that when I look at it later, I can sort of figure out what I did to get that result and can either avoid it or reproduce it. Just make sure you have some... I might just keep all the quilts and live in a quilt fort. But that's also an advantage with making these by hand, is that like you don't end up with a very big volume of them really fast. They make for great gifts, I gotta say. I was watching a YouTuber slash knitter slash sewist slash crafter, and she was saying how she had made yet another quilt top. And she was like, it doesn't stress me out. I can just keep this, and if I have a need for a gift at some point, or if if I'm stuck in a situation where I gotta make something happen really fast, but I'm good to go. And I was like, that's not a bad idea, actually. I think I want this one here. I know that with most handmade gifts, a lot of people don't even register that it's something special. But, yeah, I mean, sometimes you're lucky and you stumble upon someone who really appreciates a handmade gift. And that kind of makes it worth it for all the other ones who are like, oh yeah, cool, and set it aside. And you're like, no. You can make cat cushions to complement the cat. Might make it, pillowcases. I don't know about cushions because we don't really use cushions all that much. Anyway, the cats do. The cats are our main user of cushions in here. But many will cherish the handmade gifts. Well, you're lucky. I have to believe it. Yeah, it really depends. You can never really tell. That's why I still do it, you know, but I try not to have expectations. Like, I'm like, well, I did the thing, I think it looks good, I think it's suitable in theory as a gift, so I'm gonna gift it and we'll see what happens. And if it's someone who is not particularly into handmade gifts, well, I take mental note and they don't get more of these. One thing that I've done that also worked well, is that when I would end up with a pile of crafted good with no homes really, I kind of bring them to our friends meeting, and I'm like, hey guys, look, all this stuff, you can take anything you want in there. It's perfectly fine. And yeah, and, you know, if they want stuff, they take it, but if at the same time they're not interested, well, they can look, but they don't have to take anything. My sister and I had a years-long battle that involved a cat pillow that someone hand-painted, but it was scarier than the doll room. That gave friends nightmares. I think I meant pillowcase by cushion because I don't think the word pillow. Oh, my YouTube censors me. It did! What did it... Well, I mean, I won't know what it did censor because you won't be able to write it in, but... come on, YouTube, we're talking about sewing stuff and pillows and cats. Didn't we have this before, but just with Anna? I asked if the cat pillow was similar to the Friends episode where Phoebe... and Monica and Rachel fought who was not to keep it. Like, no, you keep it. No, you keep it. No, you keep it. No, it's your gift. You keep it. Hey, Ellen! Hello! Hello, hello! Box of paint, that sounds hilarious. Hey, I'll just let it drop in. Oh no, I hope you heal up quickly. The doll room, she strategically placed all the dolls to face the bed. That's so mischievous. Nothing like a thunderstorm and hundreds of glass eyes shining. Oh, damn. Where was that? Was that in your house, or was that like an aunt's or a grandma's or something? It sounds extra terrible. I went to the ER in the morning and was in and out in just over an hour. Whoa. Oh, your mom's house. Oh, but why have you guys sleep in the doll room? Dude, that's kind of not evil, but you know. At least it's very scary. Dude, but in and out in an hour, that's surprisingly good. My local ER is pretty decent, and I'm a type 1 diabetic, so I get moved up the priority list a bit. And they didn't really need to see me, just my urine sample. Fair enough. It's just that sometimes for that kind of analysis, like it's the analysis that takes a bit of time, but yeah. Unless it's very obvious that there's something off, you know? When I was a young teen, I loved scary stories and like detective stuff, and there was a story in a teen book I read about a creepy doll, and it made me rethink dolls. Once I had the best ER experience. When I went there, no one was there and I was all alone. So I was examined ASAP and had a room for myself. Wow. Damn, that's a rare occurrence. It's probably a tiny bit better now, but yeah, I mean, during the peak of the COVID epidemic must have been pretty impossible to get that kind of treatment in any hospital whatsoever. My main beef with hospitals, aside from, you know, them not being super fun, is that they always feel like a maze. And you gotta, you know... So you sometimes have to walk around a lot before finding the place where you're supposed to go. And that's been like a constant thing in all the hospitals I've been in. Not that many, mind you, but still. Oh, we had a booth at a local-ish antique store. It was an old warehouse, so the lighting can be sketchy. Booth was dim lit and all dolls. Terrifying. Oh, man. To be fair, it was like 3 a.m. just before. Yeah, okay, fair enough. But you never really know, mind you. Early Saturday morning is usually a little quieter. Friday and Saturday night, not so much. At least in Texas, the hospitals are huge, but generally easy to navigate. And I can get lost on my own, my own living room. But here they are just adding stuff. Yeah. Or like an area will be in they'll be doing like what's the word? Like reworking the area, like, so there's a big detour to get around to what's on the other side of all the work being done. At least in Texas, the hospitals are huge. I've been watching a bit, like a couple of episodes of My 600-Pound Life, so you said that, and yeah, kind of made associations in my head. But yeah, you need wide corridors for gurneys and like hospital beds and machinery and whatnot. There's always crap in the corridors too. We live pretty rural, so the hospital isn't too big. The waiting room is like 20 chairs maybe. That's still a substantial amount of chairs. As long as you... Yeah, I've been in places for like getting blood drawn, where there were like some chairs, but they were all full, and they would still have you had to, you know, you get in there, you grab a number, and then you wait until they call out your number, and you can wait for a while. I mean, it works as a system, it's just not super duper efficient. And you kind of have to waste your whole day getting stuff done, but... And had a CAT scan in a car park in a temporary building. Felt like we were doing something dodgy. Pull up to the ass end of the parking lot. The driver door. That sounds so sketchy. For those things, they have different waiting rooms. Sorry. Basically, every section has their own waiting room. Oh, sorry. I remember when I was a teen, I had to have some imagery scans or tests or whatever done, and we had to go like in the basement of the hospital. You know, when you get to the levels where they put all the old stuff, like the chairs in the halls are the very old chairs that used to be up on the higher levels, but now they've replaced the higher level chairs. So these come down here because no one ever comes down here, so they don't need the new chair. And you know, all that kind of stuff. And it smells a bit weird, and one of the neons is kind of flickery. And you're like, oh my gosh, where am I? And you check if all your kidneys are there. that's the general vibe. C'est-tu Hack Inc? Mr. E is laughing his ass off. Yo, c'est-tu Acquisition Inc? Ils sont très cons. What is funny? He's watching some D&D related content, and the players are being particularly stupid, and that's the funny bit. It's D&D, so it's always, you know, some base level of stupid, but some crew can get extra stupid, and that's always funny. Sorry. Yeah, I watch some D&D on Twitch. Sometimes it's super hilarious. When it's funny, it's really, really funny, isn't it? Hubby was watching a video about a LARPing town in Canada. Oh, what's the name of the place? I live in a small town city. So my hospital experience went like this. The triage nurse asked me where I worked. And then it turns out I know her husband and her parents-in-law. And have for years. Oh, that's so funny! Yeah, really, you end up knowing everyone. The whole town, give me 2 licks. We'll see if I can remember the name. A LARPing town's gotta be a fun place to work at. What is this flattening tool? It's a thingamajig. No, it's a seam press. You get many types of seam presses. I knew that I was gonna be very heavy-handed with one, so I looked for one that seems sturdy. This one is quite sturdy. Like, it's a wooden handle metal attachment and a wooden wheel. So you basically just flatten your seams. I could probably just, you know, flatten them to one side, but in this case I decided to open them up flat. It's pretty handy. It looks iron, but it is not. Yeah, it's a bit wonky, but I think that might just be my fabric cutting work that's at the origin of... Ah, Bicolin! Yeah, it's in Quebec. I think it's in Quebec. I've heard about Bicolin a lot. Because, like I said, I did some LARPing in my youth. But not there, not at Bicolin itself. But I've heard a lot about it. It was always just difficult for me because I didn't drive, still don't, so didn't have a car and didn't have a lot of money to go to Bicolin. But yeah. I was wondering if it was going to be Bicolin or some other place. It's got a website and you can play your character all year during guilds. They have their own currency and big battle. Yeah, it's been many years in the making. I think it started like kind of small, but it was always about the like a more immersive experience of LARPing. The place where I would go LARP was a kind of a public. It's a big park, but it was a public park. So you would get like randos, like just visitors to the park that would walk and they would be like, oh, what are you guys doing? Is it like theater? And you're like, oh my gosh, every single time. But yeah, Bicolin was more like, I think it's on a private property, so they build it up, but you don't get as many like just normal people just walking there being like, what's happening? Oh, look at the battle. And you know, so it's a bit more immersive. And since it was a private property, a private land, they were able to build their own buildings on there. I only saw people ironing seams, but it's so neat. Yeah, and you don't need to take the iron out all the time. I had a dog that used to get borrowed for LARPing, but never did it myself. But I think it would be a lot of fun because it's less. Yeah, it's less. It's less. So it is less fiction because you're playing pretend, but you're still playing it there, like it still exists in the moment, rather than being all in your head. Ah, that's so funny. Ha ha ha. Bicolin. I'll try to remember to check it out, see what it's like now. I love the idea of D&D, but I'm not sure if any DM could deal with my amount of questions. And seeing it in the flesh would make sense. Yeah, it would probably answer a lot of questions, but seriously, you just ask the DM the questions. If they are bothered by that, they're not. Like, it's on them, it's not on you. Like, players have to ask questions if they can't picture it well, and not everyone is on the same level of being able to visualize things without asking a bunch of questions. That's why they also make sets and like miniature sets for D&D so that it can be easier to visualize stuff. We don't really have a miniature set when we play, but we often have a map that you can draw on and then you can clean it up. So that helps a lot, and you can have your miniature, that's your character, and you can sort of, it helps to visualize what's happening. But yeah, LARPing is a whole other thing entirely. It's a lot of fun, but it's very different, and it's kind of demanding. Though I think the kind of LARPing that I was familiar with, it was easier to cheat too, in a way. But yeah, it's more about the activity itself, I guess. than the accuracy of everything. But yeah, since you're fighting with like foam swords, a lot of people would not actually consider the fact that they were swinging what is supposed to be a weapon and made of metal, so heavy. So we would call them the what's the word? I can't think of the word in English, but like it was basically rapid fire shots. You're not supposed to be able to get to someone and be like bam 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 with your foam sword, even if you can, because it's a foam sword and it doesn't weigh anything. But if we're here to play pretend, at least pretend your sword is heavy, you know? Oh, sorry. A partner and I want to play D&D again. We played each with other people when we were younger. But oh, yeah, that would be fun. Speaking of, oh, that's not stupid. That's LARP is for live action roleplay. So basically, you dress up and you play as your character in a live setting. It's a mix between improv and maybe kind of theater and fantasy. Hubby played tabletop Warcraft and he's also interested, but hard to figure out how to start. Yep. LARPing is playing a character, dressing up, reliving it. So like cosplay, but specific to a character. Yeah, it's kind of like that. So let's say your D&D character is an elven magician, whatever. Okay, just whatever. So you can go to the extra length of getting like a small, like makeup prosthetic pointed ears that you can glue to your ears to look elven, and you can make your own costumes. Like let me tell you, the costuming patterns for Halloween for everything fantasy and medieval, they were quite handy. So you can make your own outfit, or you can go to the thrift store and put together a bunch of things that would fit for a elven magician outfit. And for all the technical part of casting spells and whatnot, that was that was sort of the point where everybody agrees to follow certain make-believe rules. Like instead of actually casting a ball of fire, you enact the spell and then you throw a ball of foam, and that represents the spell. I still remember my sister had a LARP group and they played something Harry Potter themed and just sat in class for like 3 hours. I was not expecting that. Oh no. It was a bit funny, just a bit. My Boston Terrier Jack used to go with a friend as her familiar. Oh, and he had lots of fun drama, like eating all the snacks. That's amazing. That's so funny. I could totally get behind making fake potions to sell. Yeah, people will. I mean, it was kind of gross, and having had to drink one from a friend, but still, like people make potions, and it was often like, oh, it's just lemonade in a a small reusable container, whatnot. But the most jarring issue with that was that after a whole evening of running around in the summer, these things would get so warm. So yeah, often people are like, oh, I have a potion. And you're like, let's say I drank it, okay? I'm not interested in actually drinking it. We can make believe this part. I was in a Viking reenactment group, but we use metal sword. They hurt. I don't like the fighting, but I love all this. Yeah, I would love like a historical crafting reenactment group. Never mind the fighting. Other people can fight. I don't care. But I want to make all the things though. I want to like make baskets and clothing and bread and I don't know, stuff. Even houses or anything. I would love a Viking reenactment group. And yeah, for reenactment, that's not the same as LARPing, really. So they tend to use real weapon, but maybe not sharp. like real muskets, but that will fire blanks, hopefully. Or just puffs of smokes or whatnot, I don't know. But dude, I would love just a crafting reenactment group. Let me reenact this super duper stew from the stuff I just picked up at the farmer's market. Sparkles, bottles, and boxes, and my heart is. It's right, the foam flower did not hurt but would wobble. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, you could get professionally made foam swords, but more often than not, people would make them themselves, and there was not really a reliable source of how to make those swords. So some of them would be very, like, some people didn't quite know what to get to make them, so they would use wooden dowels. Those hurt. You're supposed to use like PVC piping in there and put some PVC foam around it and then tape it with duct tape. That's the basic formula, but yeah, sometimes you would get things that were less well made and were more painful, or the tip of the sword would wear out, so the PVC tubing would be more present. So if you poke someone with it, it hurts more. For stuff like daggers, often they were made just from the foam itself with no need for some structural integrity inside. So they were just like soft-ish. I guess that's how you start a character. Yeah, if you want to make potions, you could definitely see what kind of class makes potions and then have that be the start of your character. But it really depends on so many factors, like the kind of settings, the system you play in. Like some systems like D&D itself, you kind of need to be able to fight, but maybe not. It depends on the DM, and but it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Historical reenactment is actually big here. There are lots of medieval markets happening all year round, people dressing. That's really cool. Nail binding even, and spinning yarn. My mixed prayer is the healer. Aw. I'm kind of screwed for reenactment stuff because I need glasses to see. These are not very these are rather anachronistic. I know about contacts, but I've never used them. I'm not very good at putting stuff in my eyes, whether it's contacts or eye drops. I hate when these little knots happen. There you go. I think the part I struggle with is that I would find it hard to play a character that didn't have my personality. Well, you can basically be you. I don't think there's a rule against that, really. Video games force you down a route, so you don't have to worry about that. choose option. Yeah, that's not quite the same, I agree, but there's really like a lot of D&D or tabletop RPG players or even LARPers. They often end up playing like very similar characters, so it's perfectly fine. It might be easier to play because, you know, if you don't really have to pause your thinking all the time to be like, okay, so this is my character, what do they do in this situation? And especially if it's the first time you play, like, a lot of it comes from what happens when you actually play, like the way the dice rolls, or you know, all that stuff that you can't really plan for, but that will happen. And it's being able to roll with it that can make for some really fun stuff. Alright, I think I'm gonna end. Oh, anyway, it's time to end the stream, so that's perfect. Because my voice is getting pretty rough. And, yeah. So, thank you very much for being here today, guys. I really appreciate it. And, it's gonna be a bit weird next week because of the time zones and changing time and daylight savings and all that stuff, but I'll try to, I'll always try to make an event on the Discord server, so perhaps that's a bit more reliable to see when the stream will happen for you. But anyway, all that to say that there should be a stream next week, as usual. Same time, maybe not, but same place for sure. So, hopefully I'll see you guys then, and until then, I hope you have a great week, and yeah, bye bye.